So for this example, what we're going to be doing is we're going to make a very simple calculation program that's going to ask the user for two numbers and then ask them to type in a plus if they want to add those numbers or a minus if they want to subtract those numbers. Let's go ahead and create a new file, and I'm just going to call this calculator.lua. And what we're going to do inside here is we're going to start off by declaring some functions. So we're going to make a function called adder, and it's going to take in x and y, and then all it's going to do is return x plus y. Then we're going to make another function called subtractor, and this is going to take x and y, and then this one is just going to return x minus y. So we've got an adder function, we've got a subtractor function, and now what we're going to do is we're going to create a calculate function that is going to take a function as a parameter. Remember, in Lua, we can basically use functions like any other data type. So we're going to say function calculate, and it's going to take x, it's going to take y, it's going to take f, which will be a function. And then it's going to return the result of calling that function on x and y. So f, x, comma, y. Now, let's go ahead and get some data from the user, and then we'll decide which function to call or to pass into our calculate, which we'll call that function, so we can decide between adding and subtracting. So we're going to first start off by saying print, enter a number. And then we're going to do local x equals io.read. And we're going to do something a little bit different here. We're going to read in a number, and then I'm going to put a comma and then a star L, which is going to read in a line. And the reason why we're doing it this way is because if we just read in a number, then when the user hits the enter key afterwards and creates a new line, it's going to be stored up, and it's going to be read the next time that we try to actually read something that's not a number. So it'll sort of mess things up. So it's good to clear this out. We're going to get our number, and then we're going to get our line. This reads the whole line, and then we'll be sure that we're caught up with what the user's probably input. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say print enter another number, and then we're going to do same type of thing here, local y equals io.read, and then we're going to grab a number followed by our line. Then what we want to do is ask them if they want to add or subtract. So let's say, do you want to add or subtract? And then here we're going to put in parentheses type plus or minus. And then we want to get their input here, so we're going to say local op for operation equals io.read, and we want to read one character because remember it's either going to be a plus or minus, and then again we're going to do this star L to read the new line or the rest of that line so that we don't end up immediately taking that character and then spitting out the answer. We're going to wait till they actually hit enter. Then we're going to add an if. So we're going to say if op is equal to, and then we'll put minus, then we're going to say operation equals subtractor. Notice we're using the name of our function here. Remember, this is just a variable. Even though it looks like we're declaring this as a function, this is the same thing as if we said subtractor is equal to function, anonymous function here, and then specified our function inside here. So we can actually just assign operation to this other variable called subtractor, which is our function. Then we're going to say else. So if they didn't put in the minus, we're going to assume that it was a plus. We're going to say operation is equal to adder, and then end. So now we can just call print calculate. So we're going to call our calculate function. We're going to pass in x, we're going to pass in y, and we're going to pass in whatever the operation was. So this could be subtractor, it could be adder. We don't actually care at this point because we're passing in that function. So let's go ahead and run this. So it's going to ask us to enter a number. Let's put in 10, and then we'll put in 20, And then let's say that we want to add, so we'll do plus. So you can see here that we got 30. I'll run this again, and this time we'll enter 10. And I'm going to enter 5, and then I'm going to do a dash for subtract. And now you can see that the result was 5. And like I said, if you've never worked with a language where you could pass functions around, this just takes a little bit of time to get used to. I'd recommend that you try this out and try out a couple of examples and see if you can figure out how this is supposed to work and get comfortable with this, because it's a really powerful feature of the language that you should know how to use. And we're going to actually expand upon this in a minute here when we talk about closures. And I'm going to show you how it gets even more powerful by combining this with closures.